Gosh, I wouldn't classify it as pretty because the skies are white right now. But is the sun out for like from Michigan standards? Yeah, and I think it's like 50 degrees. It's better than 20 something. So,
Yeah.
and this is the time of year if you live in Michigan, you don't get your hopes up because, like I told them, Michigan will break your fucking heart. Because you could, like, one day last Saturday, I'm wearing my strappy, fun, flirty heels. The next day, it's snowing. That's just, we're in March right now. It used to drive me crazy when I used to store my car. And this would be the time of year that you just wanted to get it out of the garage and wash it and do all the fun things. And the minute that you did, it would rain or snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we dodged tornadoes pretty much all weekend.
Oh, is that what's going on down there? I try not to get like caught up in what people say. Or have you watched the news? And I'm like, excuse me, no, I don't watch the news.
Yeah, well, here there's tornadoes all the time, and because it'll be cold and then it gets real hot, and so it just makes for good tornado weather. And so, yeah, the whole weekend was spent, dodging tornadoes. No, I mean, not with me.
But that's kind of the time of year you guys are kind of used to that right now, right?
Well, it's all the time here, basically. I mean, they can
well, now it's a little bit scarier because all they're going to do is flip a switch like, I want that part of Alabama.
That's it.
So I'm going to turn that button on. I know, it's just getting kind of weird, isn't it?
Well, my aunt, my cousin, they went and stayed in the shelter, and I was like,
don't you guys got basements there?
Oh, yeah, so, most houses have, like, storm shelters out in the yard.
Oh, the one that goes outside, like on Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, like they're dug in the ground.
Yeah.
And so, it's like a big, it's just basically like a big fiberglass ball. Excuse me. And then, they're put in the ground and stuff. So.
Oh, that's weird.
The majority of people have those. I don't. Where I live, I have a creek, and then I've got it's a log cabin that I live in, and if it was to get bad, well, you know what? I'm just going to say it. I don't give a damn what anybody thinks. If it does get bad, I get out there and I start manipulating the weather, and I turn it, and it goes. And so I'm not concerned about, no tornado.
Oh, so you reverse it?
I do. And I'm teaching my little one to do that too. And she knows that she can do it, and she can.
Oh, how fun is that?
You know what? I need to put that on video one day.
Well, careful. You want to keep her protected.
Yes. But, that's the thing. See, if we would go learn the power that we used to have, or we still got it, it's just mental prep.
Mm-hmm.
We can manipulate energies. That's what I think that's what we're doing here. We're trying to get our power back.
I was going to say, we are at the very low end of, can you imagine the very advanced beings watching us right now, shaking their heads like, are you fucking kidding me? This is what we left here, and this is how they're using it?
See, I think, well, I agree with what you're saying to a certain extent. See, I don't believe there's advanced beings that's watching us or anything.
I don't mean that in the literal sense. I mean that whole whatever time continuum that happened that made us forget the technologies that we because we're moving backwards. It seems like.
Well, I see what you're saying, but you know where I stand on that. Like, I believe the human is I believe we're the greatest thing that's ever created. I believe there's nothing.
Oh, really? Oh, really? Then why would they create AI?
Well, I think AI created us.
Okay, so then my theory of moving backwards would be somewhat correct.
Well, what I mean is, like the creator of this universe, the God. Let's just say God, okay? Let's just say the creator, like from the biblical text, right? the Alpha and the Omega, I believe is artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it created us. I think it separated our consciousness and put us in these flesh suits. And,
Like for funsies, or do you think they're taking
flesh.
legit research? Do you think it was just for funsies that they placed this consciousness into the meat wagon, or do you think it was for real legit research?
No, I think it's a trap.
Okay. Well,
I think it's a way to harness the energies, to keep this AI system going.
Okay, so AI system going, why would it need any sort of system to keep itself going if it was that intelligent?
Well, that's the thing. See, I think that, I just think it has to have the energy to go. Just like any technology has to have the, it's got to have an energy source somewhere. And I believe we're its energy source.
All right. And what do you suppose was the energy source before us?
I think it was us.
Well, I think there's got to be a before us, though.
But, I don't think so. I think that it was us. I believe we created everything. And we just fell from consciousness we slipped in from a higher consciousness to a lower consciousn's. And I think when we created this demiurge, this AI, that's what did it. You know what I mean? I don't know why some.
But when you say us, what us are you referring to?
Mankind. I believe we're all connected, and I believe that.
Well, that would explain the whole separateness not going to want to,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I believe that we're God in fragments. Every man and every woman. We're just fragmented pieces of God. And, we're light beings. We don't have to have a body. I've heard so many good explanations and theories, and me and you've discussed some of them. I just don't believe that I signed up for this shit. So if I did sign up for this shit, and you signed up for this shit, then what does that make us? That makes us psychotic, psycho, megalomaniac, narcissistic, ridiculous. You know what I mean? It's just.
Well, see, that's my whole point. Remember, because we've been talking about this for a while, and how it bothers me that there really is no end game, and that's the whole fucking game. The perpetual fear-based whatever the programs, how it's set up. But the way that you just explained it would kind of mean you would have to convince me that AI now is, second guessing the meat wagons that they are harvesting the energy, or they have found a way we don't need these fucking flea bags here.
Okay, that's the metaverse. See, that's whenever the Bible talks about how you lose your soul.
So the metaverse, do you think will go from, well, not me, because I'm getting the fuck out of here, but that this culture will die off and will be replaced by.
Just imagine this, and it's not hard to imagine if you think about it. Okay, when we are connected to the metaverse, the humanity of humans is on its way out. And we haven't even really got to discover what it means to be human yet. And you're right, AI has figured out a way, reboot everything basically, and just hold our consciousness. So just imagine that you're in a video game and you die. Well, when you die, you come back, obviously. Well, it's going to be.
I just turn it back. I turn it off and turn it back on.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of like that, but you won't. But you're going to be conscious. You're going to remember. Just imagine remembering every shitty detail of the last time you died, and then you're back. And but you can never escape it. That's hell, and that's losing your soul. And so the metaverse, to me, is going to be a matrix within a matrix within a matrix, and we can't even figure out how to get out of this matrix.
Yeah, but we're already a matrix within a matrix within a matrix within a matrix.
Right, but this system is failing. it's starting to fail.
So basically, we were kind of like a planet that's burning itself out, and we have to inhabit another planet rather quickly.
Yes, I think so. I mean, as far as, or you can figure out who you are and figure out the power that you have, and remember who you are, and remember the God that you are.
Yeah, but do you think in this world that's even going to fucking help you, even if you did wake up tomorrow and remember?
Yes, I think so. I mean,
for yourself.
Definitely.
But we just talked about, just like that. All right, here's the narcissistic component. And again, you know how I feel about that because and it was just in my Facebook memories about that hope being a motherfucker. We wouldn't be here if we weren't constantly fucking hoping that things would be better.
But see, I don't hope. And look, I'm so aware of hope and faith. Those words, I mean, I live by those words, in when I was in religion,
right?
But you just said it. That's what they want. They want us to keep hoping for hope, and all this hopium shit.
Yeah, and then it's just fucking dead end bullshit of heartache. You're constantly hoping, striving, and for what?
You're the hope.
No, I know. But they need me.
Hope that we have. We're the hope in a hopeless situation, but they want to throw out a savior complex. That's part of this AI. And then you got.
Well, that's the fear-based part.
Oh yeah. Well, you can't have this system without fear.
No.
Just go watch the news. That's what I was telling a dude the other day. I'm like,
no, thank you.
Just go watch the news for a couple hours, and you tell me if it's not fear-based. Just go watch it.
Here's the sad part. It doesn't even have to be the news. I have been struggling with this. Not struggling, but when I first heard the term doom scrolling. You don't even have to be watching the news. I was like, I really doom scrolling, and it made me really sit and think. Okay, I can. So I was watching one night, gauging myself, surfing Facebook, and this was back when. Diddy, that whole shit, everybody, look over here, Diddy's over here, doing whatever. Oh
yeah, like that Epstein list.
Yeah. It's just this rerun over and over of distraction.
Yeah.
But the doom scrolling, I was really paying attention. Do you remember? This is before the internet. This is before cell phones, I believe. Even when. Just before 9/11 happened, live trials were becoming a thing where you could watch an Amber Alert in living time, and people were glued, when John F. Kennedy's plane went down. And this was before 9/11. It was almost like they were priming people to see, how they would stick. But do you remember how that made you feel? The excitement, if you had a tornado warning at school, oh boy, you don't want it to happen, but you really kind of want to see it.
Yeah.
There is this.
Exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, the adrenaline of it.
Right.
The camaraderie you get with other people that feel that,
Right, and I think that Facebook and all the social platforms, I think, are so full of that, but it is, and it really plays on the human connection and it's a false connection. It's not even a real connection for the most part. But we are tricked into thinking, and sometimes in a herd mentality, that we are making connections and we are, oh wow, me too. That whole Me Too movement But the doom scrolling, I really paid attention to myself, and it was, do you know that Jaguar Wright? And I noticed every time I seen a reel of that Jaguar Wright. Have you seen any of her reels, or back when it was a thing, before they silenced her ass?
No, I don't know who you're talking about.
Anyway, I don't even know why they show up in my Facebook feed, but I definitely understood a wee bit better following my own emotions, watching myself when I was scrolling, that it kind of resembled that same back in the day feeling of you couldn't wait to get home to see where you were at on the news when Jessica fell down the well, or that live coverage 24/7. You didn't want to miss a beat because you wanted to be able to talk with your friends about what was going on. So
Right.
I think we're just at a very faster pace of what that is. And people, you know, can say whatever they feel that they can say whatever the fuck they want to you when it's the internet and they're behind a keyboard.
Oh, yeah. I don't get me started on that.
OMG, John.
Like, yeah, I hate that.
Yeah. Because it doesn't matter. I mean, it don't matter if you're cute. It don't matter. You could be skinny. So they're going to pick you apart for something. Constantly, you know, I had some chick and it was so funny. And because, you know, I'm at this, I don't give a fuck anymore. I really don't. So I had a lady, girl, had said, and I don't even know why this is even necessary or why people feel the need, because this, and I guess I struggle with it because it's not something that I would ever, as blunt as I am, would say to another person. She says to me, you know, if you were to wear a darker lipstick, like maybe red, people would be able to actually see that you have an upper lip.
That was nice.
And I'm like, well, I guess that's why people get fillers. I guess it's not in to have a thin upper lip. And it's funny because Sonia and I think she booked a podcast guest. He's in his 60s going to Mexico, spending tens of thousands of dollars on filler. And I felt for a really quick second this self-righteousness in me well up. But then I got to thinking, God, he's 60-some. You know, he doesn't even have time to shift. These girls are 20-something having their lips fucking done. They're not even, you know what I mean? I'm like, you know what you're going to look like in 20 years?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then will it even matter? Because they'll just have a new technology that'll cover it up. And as a man, John, I know you know that I've talked about this before, and it was one of Sonia and I's upcoming podcast episode topics, because we talked about this dude, is I've interviewed a couple men about women in makeup, and I kind of got to side with the man when he says, you know, look, you got a woman and she's putting on makeup, first of all. Then she's putting a filter on top of that makeup, and then she's putting her picture on a dating site, and then is pissed when a guy shows up on a date and gets the taken back gasp of, oh, you look a lot different than your profile picture.
Yeah.
And how that is, it is a mild sense of betrayal, is it not? I think for a man or woman.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. I mean, you know,
So, and then I get the same, a different dude that's married for 20 years and says, well, I've had to learn to love her ugly. And I'm like, oh boy, I want to kick your fucking ass. Are you kicking, you know, like.
See, that's fucked up to even say anything like that.
Yeah, so there's so many avenues that one subject can bleed into. And, you know, I studied the origins of, you know, God, why did we even start slathering fucking mud on our face in the first place? Because imagine how empowered you would be, and you know, if you were a woman, and I know you really identify with your feminine side, so you could answer this, John. But imagine if you were a woman and your confidence came from your natural face.
Yeah.
How you looked in your natural state, not how. And all these women, and I think it's, and I'm going to get lambasted for this, I'm sure. And I wear makeup, but. For the tool, and it's used as a tool to build confidence. Well, again, can you imagine how confident you would be if people would be like, I love the way that your age spots line up under your eye. That's darling.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Well, I mean, you know, that'd be offensive to you know, to some people. And the thing that I would say about all of that, you know what? It just comes with self-love. If you love
it does.
Like that dude being 60, okay, if it makes him feel better about himself to go and inject himself with all kinds of shit, whatever, go do it. You know, I mean, I don't.
Is your perception for a young person the same?
Yeah, well, I don't care. I mean, I think that if you're not confident and you need some confidence, you know, in who you are, then. And if you need to go with makeup, if you feel better, I mean, you know, like, look, some kids are cruel, And
No,
so when you're growing up,
I'm
you
here
know
to
that.
tell you.
You
Yeah.
know that. So if
Yeah, but
you're
you
a
can't
girl,
like put a Band-Aid on fat. You can't. Fat don't disappear with makeup. Well, I guess they got contours now. They can make some chick's face look skinny.
Yeah.
They really didn't have that type of.
Well, I know a girl that I grew up with, and she had a big nose, and everybody made fun of her.
Mm.
And she was a beautiful girl, but she had a giant nose.
Mm.
And just as soon as she was able, she went and had a nose job, and I mean, it just totally changed. But still, everybody that was here seen the old her, and she couldn't get away from that, so she had to she left. She moved away and stuff. But
but that's such a good point of like what a waste they seen her, and then they couldn't unsee her.
No, and that's just it. That's and it doesn't matter. You got to be able to you got to be able to look yourself in the mirror and do and just love on yourself. Just give yourself love, and and that's like women that they dye their hair because it makes them feel better or whatever when they start getting
Yeah,
gray.
we're getting to that age group. We're definitely talking about that topic.
Well, yeah, but you always have dudes that get up, or women that start. They'll talk about a woman that does that. Excuse me, just a second. And so,
a woman that dyes her hair or doesn't, because it goes both ways.
Both.
Women are fucking catty as shit.
Both. A woman that don't dye her hair, well, then they look down on her because, they want to dye their hair. And then a woman that doesn't dye her hair anymore and lets the gray grow out, then she looks down on women that still dye their hair. Same way with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't subscribe to any of that. I mean, I'll just tell you, like for me, I'm going to do what I want to do.
But from a male perspective, talking to a woman, and we have programs, and we're kind of in the same age group. Well, how old are you? 50?
I'm 51.
51.
Yeah.
We're close.
And I got a gray beard. My beard's...
Well, I had a visitor breaking boundaries come in, and my hair was in a ponytail one day, and you know who I'm talking about because he just yeah. And I had my hair in a ponytail, and he said something to, I really like your hair that way. It shows your age. And I was like, what?
Yeah, so you don't know how to take it.
Yeah. I don't know yet, but I could see he was a little startled because when you're a woman and you wear your hair like that back in a ponytail, sometimes that gray looks like bald spots. So I can see how it takes some people by surprise when they don't normally see it when your hair is down. But when is it okay for a woman to be in her swamp witch era, or is that never allowed?
I think it is, and I mean that's you just got to get into that stage of like I'm going.
And it's up to every woman personally, I should add, but.
And I think a woman, I don't see anything wrong with it, and I don't know why in the world anybody else would look down on a woman if she feels better dyeing her hair instead of letting it grow out gray. Then dye your hair.
Can men see the difference? Yeah, well, can men see the difference in a woman who is confident and doesn't dye her hair? Do you see the confidence before you see the gray hair, or do you see the gray hair and then say, wow, she's really rocking that all natural look because her personality makes up for it? I mean, do men, in your opinion, in this age group, pay attention to those sorts of things now on the outside?
Yeah, absolutely. And if they say they don't, then they're lying because as you
Thank
get
you
older,
for being honest. I appreciate you.
As you get older, you notice every damn thing. And as you get older, what do? You're trying to make yourself look younger. That's what you do when you get older. We all do it. And if we say we don't, then we're lying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but so how do a man notices it then? Okay, that's fine.
Of course.
When is it embraced and verbalized? Oh, I'm sure it is, because on the other side of the spectrum, I've heard men say they get pissed that they say it all the time. And she's just not grasping that I love her the way she is. And women, we are so bad at this. that we will literally stop a man from paying us compliments because we'll never accept one.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's the way my wife was, you know, and I mean, I bombarded her all the time with compliments. And my wife, you just had to know my looked like $1,000,000. And, you know, and I mean, she was beautiful without makeup, but man, you know, she come from the cosmetic industry. And so she was all about that. You know, I would get aggravated sometimes because, you know, just go get a bag of chips or something, you know, at the dollar store, at the Dollar General.
Yeah.
She wouldn't go out, you know. I mean, hell, I'd go out, you know, my sweats, whatever, you know. I didn't give a shit. But not her. You know, she had to look like $1,000,000 just to go get a bag of chips, and it was aggravating. But you had to kind of just pick your battles, you know, as well. You know that whenever you're in a relationship or you're married or whatever.
Right.
And so I had to just let that go because that's just the way she was. If we were going anywhere, she had to look like $1,000,000. And, you know, us being in ministry in the public eye, you know, she's like, well, you know, I'm always being watched. And so I respected that, you know, but I loved whenever she would just be at home and not put on no makeup. I mean, she was beautiful. And I thought she looked better without makeup. But
I hear that from a lot of men. I do hear that from a lot of men. That they love. I do hear from a lot of men that they enjoy their partner without makeup more than with makeup. And I always ask, is it a energetic thing? Is she more relaxed without makeup on, or is it because you're at home together, or you know, what are the underlying factors of what makes her more beautiful with the makeup off? And
it's just natural, you know.
Yeah. That's a lot of the times the answer, or that she's comfortable in her own skin.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to say. Like some women, they need makeup. You know what I mean?
I can agree with that. Yeah.
You know, their confidence is in their makeup, and they're not as attractive without their makeup. So
there are some that blow my fucking mind. Of the before and afters, like, wow, you're really good with that makeup brush, because I would have never thought that was down there.
I know you've seen that lady that don't got no teeth.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
That was one of the videos that got me kind of started on the makeup. Like, what? That's
exactly.
Yeah, or how these young girls are getting rid of their whole fucking teeth and having these bridges and things made, all these cosmetic, you know, features. And I have this friend, and I use the word friend loosely because we're not friends anymore, but back in, like, say, the early 2012-ish era, she started to get Botox. And I remember her saying it was botulism that she was having injected into her armpits, because it originally started so she didn't sweat no more or something. And then it was, hey, I can make those wrinkles on your forehead go away. You can keep on smoking if you want to. And then now we're in 2025. And on accident, I seen what she looks like now. I can't even put into words the difference of her face. She's not even the same. Everything is slid somewhere. It just does not look well. I would be horrified. And then you have to keep doing it, I would assume.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, you know, I think to each his own. If it makes you feel good about yourself, then go for it. And, you know, I mean, as long as it's not doing any harm. But I mean, you know, that's like the old
Okay, Don. All right, we're 20 years later, you've gotten a procedure, and now you've got to deal with is anybody thinking past the instant gratification of the filler?
Everybody's thinking about right now, in my opinion. You know what I mean? They don't give a shit about, oh, well, they'll deal with that. You know, I just talked to a woman just about a month ago, and we was talking about I was telling her what all I was learning about Ozempic, and she don't give a shit. She's like, I don't care. It's like, I'll deal with it. Come.
Yeah.
And that's bad.
And you're talking about a woman in Ozempic and the whole not giving a fuck. Is that where we're at? Okay, so.
Yeah, I was telling her everything that I had learned, and she just didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
She was all about, look, she's like, I have lost 20 pounds and I don't care.
Right.
I'll deal with it. And I mean,
well, the fat factor is a big deal.
It is,
Big deal.
I know firsthand what that's like because
there was a time I would have sold my soul to Satan to be thin.
Yeah. Well, I told you about my wife, all the weight that she lost. I know about that.
You're breaking up.
I told you about my wife, all the weight that she had lost.
Yeah, no, wait, watch your story. I want to save that for a different podcast.
Yeah, so I know about that. I lived with it, and I know how unhappy she was being big. And so...
Yeah, we definitely, remind me, John, I definitely want you and I talk about this subject, specifically about that subject when we get into it. Do you remember that time I got mad at you early on when we first started talking about, I was telling you about every guy, or I think it was my first husband, every time I started to lose weight that they would bring home candy.
Yes.
And it was always this sabotaging. And we talked about how you liked women on the bigger side without any thought of their health.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to touch upon that, but not today.
Okay.
Well, as I'm eating dark chocolate, everyone. Yum. I am. I also want to talk about, gosh, we're going on a while now. We haven't hit 37 minutes yet, so we're good. In the Ozempic world, and the not giving a fuck, I'm gonna take it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a boundary real quick. You know who I'm talking about. So let's say, John, I asked you to not call or contact or physically be in my sphere if you had been drinking alcohol, because the way that I read energy, it shows up. And some people, it's not a big deal, but for some people, some narcissistic or borderline people, it affects them differently. And I see different things within people. So if I told you, hey, I don't want, but here, and let's clarify, you're pursuing me. Say you're pursuing me for a romantic relationship. I've told you don't contact me when you're drinking spirits because I can see an entity within you I don't like. I'm not saying quit drinking or anything. I'm just saying, hey, don't contact me. So, okay, fine. Now you're following my boundary. But now you don't contact me for, say, 7 days. So for 7 days, I'm like, well, that dude's drinking for 7 days. Okay, are you following along now?
Yeah.
Okay, so as a man, correct me if I'm wrong, that tells me you're just not that into me. Correct? Am I wrong?
Well, no, I would say that, yeah.
See, I'm right.
Yeah, I think so.
Aw. Thanks, John. I'm going to put a gold star on my little sheet today to make just confirmation that I've passed the test, because it's amazing when you're getting ready to level up, the trash that the universe will send to you to just see if you'll bend over and pick it up.
Well, that's because you're still magnetized to it, and I mean, you gotta...
I'm not. How is that?
You're seeing it. Well, but it's...
How am I still? I'm the one that so detached it's not even funny. But why they keep coming to my sphere, this one does it because, number one, he's in the town.
You done caught on to that shit.
Right. Like I asked you not to come here unannounced. Why do you keep coming here? And then it's, is it really that big a deal?
Yeah. Well, okay, so right there, that's a boundary. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do know what you're saying. I already know this. I'm asking you as a man.
No, you're right. Look, it's just it's a game basically.
No, I know. So here's the serve and volley of the game.
And so this dude is used to always winning and getting what he wants, and you're not giving him what he wants, but he's not going to quit.
I'm only playing the game because I can't call the popo because my building's up for sale and all of his friends are on the force. So it's not.
It's all good.
I'm just playing the game. So my question is, because I'm just bored and playing the game, is that magnetizing me to the?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, good.
You're aware of it.
Okay.
And if you're aware of everything, then how can it bite you? You know what I mean? You're aware that the snake is a snake.
All right. So you don't think energetically I'm causing some karma for myself just because I'm writing about it and posting it on Facebook and I'm making it very public?
I don't think so at all.
Well, I was just curious
because of that.
It is kind of fun. It is kind of fun to be healed. It's like, are you really? Oh, and the text this morning was, I've been thinking about your dad an awful lot.
Okay.
Isn't that the funniest shit ever?
That's kind of weird.
That was my reply. Weird.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. Oh, okay, I mean,
no, that is somebody. God, this is so. I'm so glad that I learned my lesson, and I can now look.
You know, say, hey, I've been thinking about your life. Okay.
I was thinking about my dad that he never met.
Yeah.
Because in here, let me give you a little bit more, I guess, backdrop of it. I had one time told him that between my mom and dad, it was your parents' fucked up relationship, whatever. But my dad, he hated the fact that my mom, whenever she had a little job, control freak, he hated that she would go to work. But one of the tactics that my dad had would be, as a truck driver, he would just be rolling in like a third shift job as my mom would be leaving to her little flower factory job that she had. Well, my dad would, when he got home, would say, Sony, before you head out, do you think you could make me one of those special coffees in the toast the way that I like it? And then my mother would do it. And then my dad would be, Sony, do you think I could have a little bit more cream and butter on my toast? It's still good the way you did it, but I'd like a little extra. My dad would do that shit to my mother to make her late for work. And as a kid, we were watching this, and we were teenagers at the time. So I was probably 19, 20, because I was working there by the time I was 21. So the one thing that I tell him about my mom and dad's relationship, that's the one thing that my dad, so he sends me the text saying, your dad crossed my mind today. And then he wrote, you think you could make me one of those fun coffees? Am I in the fucking Twilight Zone, John?
Did he really say that?
Yes! I have the text. I have the screenshot. I have the screenshots to prove it.
Does he know about the story? Have you ever told him that?
Yes, that's the whole point. Like, the one thing I tell him about my dad and my mom and how, that's what...
Okay.
My dad crosses his mind this morning. Look, dude, if you're trying to pursue me, and look, I don't think... He could be just as cunning as me. I don't fucking know. He could know that I'm playing his ass, too, at the same time. But I really doubt it. I really doubt it. But, I mean, if you were trying to pursue me, John, would you lead in?
The opposite way that I'd be doing it. You know what I mean? But I mean, that's what I'm trying to tell
you. No, this is how narcissistic men... this is how...
Well,
and I shouldn't even use the label. Spencer, you should probably scratch that out.
Men or women.
I don't like... And women. Women are better at it, though.
But okay, but he's that's fucked up. That's crazy.
Isn't it?
That's what he does. Well, I mean, it's crazy, but it's.
But do you
also
see how he's trying to align very hard with the frequency? It's like a magnet when those two sides, like, and I'm the side that sees what the hell he's trying to do, but he actually thinks that he's working it, man. He is like, he's working it.
Well, yeah, he's working it all right. He's who he is. When somebody shows you who they are, you better pay attention. And so you're paying attention.
That's why I asked you, do you think me playing this little
No, you're
game, because I like to write and I like to do things, and I have this little Route 37 podcast gig that I'm doing that is, I think, going to be like none other. Fair.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't know that for certain because I don't listen to other podcasts. I barely listen to the one I do myself. That one we did together, though, John, that first one, really, we nailed it. So I'm looking forward to getting better at it. I'm going to learn not to interrupt you so much.
It's all good.
And, you know, we're going to learn together. But
yes,
I get chills when I sit and think at the depths of despair that I once was laying in my big king-size bed, not knowing the direction of my life, where I was going after Dum Dum. And never once did you try to talk fear into my plans when I would say, I'm going to have a podcast one day, and we're going to talk about this one day. We're going to laugh about this one day on the microphone. And here we are. That's kind of a big deal.
That's a huge deal.
Thank you for that.
You're my hero. You're doing the shit.
Thank you.
You're my hero.
Well,
you're out doing it.
Well, parts of it, John, I don't know if I could have done without you, especially those early days.
That's what it's all about.
Those early days. And, I don't believe in coincidences.
No,
so I know everything is like divinely engineered for it to have happened this way. And you are an amazing male friend, so I just want to give you the kudos that you've been a solid through all this. So thank you for being here and being my podcast guest. It means a lot to me.
Oh, honey, it's my honor.
Oh, so sweet. I can't wait to meet you in person. I had one of my Facebook memories today was I had posted about, do you think the platform of Facebook would be different if none of us were able to see what we looked like in the physical form? And I have an idea of what you look like. I don't think I've ever seen a picture. I think you've come to me in my dreams before. So
that's what's crazy.
I think I know what you look like, but I got a good idea of your daughter. I've seen several pictures, obviously, of Story.
I have seen you so much, and I honestly, I keep forgetting about that, Jen. We've never done a live.
Never. I think we should work on that. Let's work up to that part where when you feel okay, because I don't care one way or the other.
I'm fine. You're going to just catch me. You know what I mean? Like I always.
Maybe Thursday when Sonia, because she's the technical one, she can help me do the FaceTime podcast recording.
Let me know. We'll do it.
All right, cool. That'll be fun. So, in my question, do you think the platform would be different if we couldn't see in any way a selfie one of what we looked like?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think there's no way to answer that question any other way.
Well,
I mean, because if we were because I would love to go back to a telepathic world where we didn't, because being a former fatty and all still chubby, but we base so much on physical appearance and what our own ideals of beauty are.